Okay, Terri, why are we still talking about how can marketing and sales team work better together? Don't you think they would have become BFFs by now?
I completely agree. We have all the research, the data, the experience that proves that when marketing and sales are better aligned, it can lead to great statistics like a 200% increase in revenue, better customer retention, higher win rates for leads. So let's talk a bit more about this.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Welcome to Constructive Insights. I am Terri, Director of Media Strategy at Jan Kelley. I'm joined by Kamila, our Senior Director of Strategy. And today we're talking about how to foster collaboration between sales and marketing teams. We are here on behalf of Jen, who's away on vacation, and we're really excited to talk about this today.
We are. It's one of my favorite topics ever, this whole idea of the dynamic between sales and marketing. And it actually brings me back to this analogy that I read a while ago, and I wish I could credit whoever wrote it because it's so amazing. But it's this idea that in order to really foster that collaboration, you have to make sales realize what marketing contributes to the dynamic and then vice versa. And so think of marketing and sales as a play or putting a musical together, a performance. And you have your salespeople who are the actors, the performers. They go out there every night. They get in front of people. They get the audience going. They inspire the audience. They sell this story, right? And then you have marketing, who's those behind the scenes people, right? They're the set designers, the directors, the script writers, the makeup artists, and all that great stuff. And you can't really put together a play or a musical without them. And you don't really have a play or a musical without the people on the stage. So if you start thinking about it that way, then you start seeing how you can't have one without the other. And then when I start thinking about the best movies that I've ever seen or the best plays that I've ever seen, they're the ones where the actors are like best friends with the directors, right? Because they contribute to the script or they bring some of who they are to the piece. And you have the people who are behind the scenes who ask the actors, what would work here? What do you want to wear? And so when you see that in the world of movies, this is how it works best, you ask yourself, what can we do to really foster that collaboration between marketing and sales? So knowing some of this, Terri, what are some of your thoughts on how we can help marketing see the value of sales and then the sales team see the value of marketing in their day-to-day?
So there are many ways that sales and marketing can create better communication with each other. We'll maybe look at like a top 3 for each.
Love it.
So let's talk first about how marketing can support the sales team. Way number 1 is just boosting overall brand credibility. Obviously, when customers see well-designed and compelling ads, it instills confidence and makes them more receptive to a salesperson then engaging with them and trying to create a connection. So the second way that marketing can support sales is through providing quality leads. With targeted ads and qualifying questions, it's more likely that we can deliver really qualified leads to salespeople that are more likely to convert.
I love that you said qualified and quality because I want to say it's probably the number one criticism from the sales team that sure, marketing can provide leads, but are they quality leads, right?
Absolutely. And we'll talk a little bit later about open forms of communication because communicating back from sales on the quality of those leads is really, really important.
So important, yeah.
And the third way that marketing can support salespeople, and this is a really, really important one, it's shortening the sales cycle. When leads are already familiar with your brand, your values, how you differ from competitors, salespeople can really focus on building the relationship and not worry so much about having to educate people from scratch. So it really does decrease the length of that overall sales cycle.
Yeah, and as we know, about 47% of large purchases, which is typically the case in building materials industry, come as a result of like actually nurturing that lead over a period of time. So key.
So now let's talk about the top 3 ways that salespeople can then in turn support marketing efforts. Way number 1 is just sharing customer insights. Salespeople are there present with customers all the time. They're the best people to, inform us about pain points, product feedback, competitive intelligence, what's happening in the industry. And oftentimes those things can really help inform a great campaign strategy. So salespeople have a lot of industry knowledge and customer knowledge that's really important to marketing efforts. Another way that salespeople can be so tremendously valuable because they have those great relationships is sometimes securing case studies and testimonials. Obviously, they're in that position where they have that relationship with a customer, and being able to help acquire testimonials and case studies that then can in turn be used as content for marketing is incredibly valuable, especially when you're talking about a full funnel lead nurturing type campaign where great content and boosting credibility is going to be really important.
And honestly, I love this one because to me, this speaks about all types of content, this idea of co-creating content together. When you think about those stats that say 60 to 70% of B2B content is never used by the sales team, like how frustrating for marketing, who's creating all this content that never gets used, and frustrating for the sales team who's getting content that isn't relevant to them. And nobody knows, to your point, their audience, the customer, better than the sales team. So let's co-create.
Yeah. They're in a great position to create that amazing content that they know customers will like and that will, resonate with the audience. Lastly, the importance of delivering lead quality is vital. For a sales team to provide that type of feedback on which types of leads are converting versus others that don't feel right or are staying a little bit cold will really help the marketing team tailor future campaigns and efforts in a manner that they can deliver more quality leads. They can change targeting, change strategies, add custom questions to help pre-qualify, and that way the campaign delivers the best possible quality leads back to the sales team. So recognizing some of these tips are a bit general, we know that the building materials industry kind of has some of its own unique challenges. And Kamila, I know that you've worked with a lot of building materials clients over the years. So why do you think that in this particular industry that sales and marketing alignment just kind of requires a little bit of extra work?
Okay, so I'm going to caveat this by saying, first of all, it's for sure different depending on the organization, all these different things. So some of the things that I might say might not apply to your organization. But generally, what we're seeing in the building materials industry is that there's maybe 3 or 4 things that really make it a little bit harder. The first one is this whole idea that historically some of these organizations might be more sales driven, might not have had a robust marketing department or a marketing department at all. And so there's a lot of that context that plays into it. As part of that, the sales team often has its own sales goals, and then the marketing team has its marketing goals. And to be quite honest with you, I disagree with that whole concept for any organization, because how hard is it to work towards a singular goal together and to drive in the same direction towards the same destination if you're given different goals? So at the very kind of root of it, for me, it's about making sure that you're aligning your sales and marketing goals to this larger organizational goal and this one vision of the future. Okay, number 2, and I've kind of alluded to this one, but there's this whole perception of marketing in the building materials industry. I think you've seen some of this, Terri.
I have, absolutely. I think that there is just some different mindsets between an appreciation of traditional marketing channels versus more modern marketing, lack of maybe some appreciation between different skill sets and industry information and experience. And I know that sometimes salespeople can be a bit more protective of the relationship with their customers. They don't necessarily see marketing as being as personable and relatable, and they want to kind of protect that relationship, that face-to-face communication, and they just don't necessarily see as much value in a more modern approach to digital marketing.
Yeah, I see that. Third one for me would be the amount of stakeholders that you see in a buying committee or a sales cycle in the building materials industry. Like when you think about it, there's the owner, the project managers, there's the specifiers, the engineers, the architects, the designers, there's the end users, the contractors. Oh, there's also the homeowner sometimes. And so when you start thinking about all of these stakeholders, if you go back to my analogy about the play or the musical, you're basically asking this performer to play all of the roles in the play.
Be applicable to everyone.
Yes, wear all the hats.
Yeah.
You're going to have to jump backstage where there's going to be one person who's doing the lighting, the directing, the writing, the makeup, the costume, because you're also expecting the marketing person to be able to wear all of these different hats. And so you're basically putting a 2-man show play. Like, it's just a little crazy. And that complexity in the buying committee and the sales cycle is really requiring that the salespeople and the marketing people become expert in all of the things, and that's hard.
That's really difficult.
Okay, and number 4 for me is tech adoption or digital transformation. We see this a lot in the building materials industry. They're lagging when it comes to adopting some of these new technologies and tools and resources that help enable that collaboration between sales and marketing. So when you think about CRMs or marketing automation tools, personalization, and things like that. And that kind of brings me to, okay, so we've talked about all of these different ways that sales benefits from marketing, marketing benefits from sales, what's standing in their way. Let's talk about what can they do to actually improve that collaboration now. And I say this because when it comes to tech, like, what a great opportunity to help these two teams collaborate. If you're actually implementing the right tech, the right tools, the right resources, and empowering sales and marketing to use them, you can see tons of knowledge transfer, data sharing, insight sharing. You can see how they can really score and qualify leads, and there's that visibility and transparency between the two teams. So I actually think tech adoption is something that's might be standing in the way of that, but is also becoming the enabler of that next phase of collaboration for the two teams.
So I love what you said about tools, because it makes me think about all the information sharing, and it makes me think about communication, which is so important and something that can be implemented right now. It's something that you can action on immediately. Just creating an environment where sales and marketing can come to the table together, be open and transparent, share information, customer insights, competitive intel, lead quality, all those great things, and then making sure that that communication continues and even is enhanced by things like maybe quarterly meetings where you continue to align on what are the business goals, what are we all striving to achieve. So I think the tools could really help complement open lines of communication, because you'd have it rooted in technology, but also in those regular meetings where people are kind of communicating together and being a bit more transparent. And it's something that businesses can do right now with very minimal effort.
I love you're talking about communication, because it brings me back to this idea of working on a project from the get-go together. I hate hearing the whole, let's bring marketing in, let's bring sales in. Can we all stop using that and actually work on something from the onset together? Whatever the campaign, the project is, getting the insights from the sales team about what the customer wants, what their expectations are, getting insights from marketing about what success looks like, co-creating content, getting feedback from sales on the creative strategy. It really fosters this environment of mutual ownership and mutual accountability between the two teams. And at the end of the day, that's great.
Yeah, and I love that. You mentioned, getting insights from the sales team on things like creative strategy and messaging and things of that nature. And it makes me think about paid media campaigns, which is kind of my realm. And oftentimes we're working with marketing individuals, and we are evaluating, where to reach the target audience, the, magazines, websites, all the different channels, social channels, which makes sense for the audience. But what's missing is just that inside intel from sales, because oftentimes we're seeing kind of the black and white information. We obviously have lots of industry experience, but we're looking at readership, statistic, numbers, things of that nature. And what's missing is, the insight from the sales teams that say, yeah, those numbers might not be perfect, but I know that my audience is at that event. I know they're members of that association. I know that they read that magazine or visit that website regularly. And sometimes the black and white numbers that we have access to just don't tell the full picture. So having that bit of insight from the sales team is really critical to making the right paid media choices.
I love that.
Well, this wraps up another edition of Constructive Insights. We hope that you've listened to our discussion about how to align sales and marketing teams, what they can bring to each other's roles, why it's especially challenging in the building materials industry, and the things that you can start doing today and things that you can start thinking about in the future to start making that alignment better. Thanks.